snap-placket? No problem. Let me show you how to do this. In this chapter, we're going to work the snap-placket, which is actually so pretty, and it's not difficult at all if you work it like I do, and I think it looks really nice. What we're doing here is we're going to have the snap-placket so that you can see it from the outside. You only see it when it's done up. It's absolutely fantastic. So let's get started. We are preparing our snap-placket facing, and depending on your fabric strength, you can interface just one of the facings. So firmer denim requires just one interfaced facing, softer denim both. We are interfacing the front facing as the KamSnaps will sit only on the facing and can rip out without this extra support. In this example, I removed the seam allowance from the interfacing to allow the fabric to lie nice and flat. Now we need to iron the hem. First, turn in the edge 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch and press that down. Some of you might not want to measure this, you just know what it is, but yeah, 1 centimeter, 3/8 of an inch. And then we're going to turn the edge over again by 2 centimeters or 0.8 inches and pin it. So that I am actually measuring all the way across. You just need to do that and give it a good, jolly good press. Measure again and across. And repeat that, of course, on the other leg as well. So now we're going to top stitch this, and we're top stitching it from the upper side of the fabric. Now the turnover is 2 centimeters. So if you use the markings on the sewing machine slightly less than that, then you'll be okay. You might want to put in the pins vertical to the seam here so that while we're doing this top stitching, we can actually take them out as we go along. As I said before, because the tension is so high, you sometimes get a loop or like a looser thread right where the pin sits, and that's not very nice. You may not see it, but I think we want to make it perfect. So now for the top stitching, we want to take out those pins. So your next step is to enlarge the stitch length to 4 on your sewing machine, and then also heighten the tension to 11. In my case, it could be somewhere between 8 and 11, and so all the way across. Now, if you're doing 2 stitch, if you by any chance haven't quite caught it here, doesn't really matter. Now, this is where I use a gadget that I got from Madame Sew, I think like ages ago. And I don't think you actually need it. I took it off. You can put that on there so it's always the same. For me, I found it just annoying. I can work with the little lines that are on the needle plate. I really don't need it. And I think the more you sew, the less you need the gadgets, and they just get in the way. But that was okay. There's a little bit still of movement in the bobbin thread in there, so I went even higher with the tension, and that's it. So you could do another stitching line if you wanted to. I just left it as 1 stitching line, and then when I did it for the ebook, I actually did 2 stitching lines. That's absolutely fine either way. I just wanted to show you the difference in the tension here and there. One had the tension up still at 8 and the other at 11, and 11 really was the sweet spot for me. So do fiddle out the right one for you. And now we pin the reinforced facing to the front and the other facing to the back side. But before I do, I want to iron the curved side of the facing here. We want to iron that top curve edge over 1 centimeter, and then we're going to pin the one with the interfacing on to the front of the legs, because that is where our KamSnap only sits in the facing. But to put the KamSnaps in the right position and to make this as easy and smooth as possible, it is important that we do it exactly how I show it here to you. Trust me, this is the best way. I have tried it many other ways and it didn't quite work so well. Here you can just rely on it that it will be perfect every time. So we pin this on there. And then we also pin the back facing to the back leg. Right sides together again. And my facing stands over the edge a little bit much here. Normally it's 1 centimeter. Here it is because I'm doing ankle length but left the facing in the longer length. 1 centimeter seam allowance. For the front, it's super easy because I cut off the seam allowance. I can just follow the interfacing, but it's a centimeter, so either way, it'll come out right. There we go. Don't let the fabric underneath it, the denim, slip out in that curve where the seam sits. It likes to do that. And to the end, lock in your stitches. And now I'm going to iron those seams apart. You could also understitch it, but because I want this to be super flat, the whole lot, and I'm putting KamSnaps in, that is why I'm not understitching this time, but this time ironing it apart. This will give me the flattest result here. If you have a slightly lighter fabric, not a heavy denim like mine, of course you could understitch it and it would give you the same perfect edge as you want. Now I'm ironing it up. Beautiful. You might want to have a little bit of that denim seen from the wrong side when you do that, so that it's very similar to understitching. And now I'm turning in the sides and I'm pinning this. There we go. And you might say, but you said you're going to put the KamSnaps just into the facing. Why are you pinning it all? And the reason for that is that when we're marking it, if you haven't pinned this, it's so easy to get it into the wrong spot. Pin it and then we release the pins again. If you've ironed it and pinned it exactly where it needs to be and then mark your KamSnaps, even when you undo it, you know it's in the right position, right? That's why I'm doing it. It saves you a lot of hassle. Pin it, iron it, and we are good to mark the front. Right, swivel it round and do the back. Same thing again. It's going to close like that, right? And we're going to put in our KamSnaps from that side. On this side as well, we're going to iron the seam apart, iron it up, and then we're going to pin that as well. Now we fold in the side and then we fold it up and we pin it exactly in. Now here we can pin a bit more because this we're just going to sew down in a minute, so this is not going to come back off again, so pin away. And that sits well. I make sure that my facing ends up in exactly the same height here as the shell fabric so that the hem is perfect. There go. And now we go on to the next step. So now you want to take your KamSnap template that I've got here, which I'm going to put on so that the center fold part of it always faces the center of the pair of pants. And then you just mark through the holes, which I've cut away sneakily, And I do the same from the other side. Put it right onto the hem. There we go. And from that side. Awesome. And that's marked, so I know this is where I put my KamSnaps. And then I do exactly the same on the other side. You make absolutely sure you've got the center fold mark going up to the top. So I'm just releasing that now to put it in. You could also just put it from the top, actually. It doesn't matter. And anybody that's watching real close now can see that my center fold mark is facing the hem. I was concentrating on the camera, I didn't see it. So once I stopped filming, I saw it and I went, oopsie daisies, right? So you need to make sure that the center fold mark faces the middle and it'll come out absolutely perfect. That's how I did all the last pants, and I didn't have to actually check anything. It was perfect. So now it's time to put the KamSnaps in. So you remove the pins from the front facing, and then you just push through with your KamSnap to the other side. You can use an owl, but in fact with this fabric I could just push it through even without an owl. And then from the upper side here of the facing, I've put the stud on the top of the prong. So just push that prong through. Don't really need an owl for this one. When we go through all the layers we need it, but here it's really not necessary. Put the stud on top of the prong, place the snaps between the top and the bottom of the dies of the pliers, press down and release, and your KamSnap is in. And we keep doing that until we get to the other end. And as long as you have the center fold marking facing the middle and you line up the hem, it will be in the correct position on both of your facings. So you don't need to worry at all. I did these plackets for every length, so it's extremely easy. You can't really go wrong. So now I'm just going to pin this back in, and then we're going to sew the facing to the fabric, because of course it's harder to do it when the snaps are in, but for the front we have no choice. We have to do it at this stage, and it works very well. So pin in the front again, make sure it sits where it was before when you've ironed it and positioned it all. So you just put it into the same place, which is why I think it's so important to iron and pin it in the first place, then release it, put the KamSnaps in, makes it easier. There we go. Now we can go over to the sewing machine and sew this all in. I made the facings so wide that you should be able to go past this with your presser foot with absolutely no problem. But if you have an issue, just move your needle over a little bit to the left, so that your presser foot is well away from the KamSnap and it's easy to do. And down, turn, and over. So this is the back first. And here it's super easy. We're just stitching with a normal stitch. Don't forget your tension needs to be down to normal for your machine. And you also had to change your thread from top stitching back to this. And then we're going over the back. Make sure that it doesn't pull down here. This is where understitching of course has the advantage over just ironing it apart. It will never shimmy or shift, but I didn't want it to be too thick. You have a go. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. If you are watching this on my sewing school at frocksandfrolics.com, then why not click on the video, watch on YouTube. That takes you to YouTube, and you can leave a comment as well. I'd be really happy if you did that. It'll help my channel. It'll help me understand better where you are with all of this. And the other thing that you could do is, of course, leave a comment in the Facebook group. We have got 2 groups on Facebook, one for the Germans and one for the English. So either way, you can let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to hear from you. So here I've moved the needle over a little bit to the left, so I'm not too close to my KamSnaps, and I move the pins out as I go. Again, you can leave vertical pins in. They should not break the needle, but they might leave loops underneath. So I just would pull them out. Sometimes I forget to pull them out and it's fine, but generally speaking, it's better to pull them out just in case of that, because you don't want loops on the outside. That would not be good. Sew to the end, and I'm also sewing down the sides. If you didn't want that, if you think that's unsightly, just sew straight over and lock in your stitches and then hand stitch that little edge close. That would also work however you think that's nicest. But here we are, we've done it looking fab. And I didn't actually use top stitching thread. I just wanted to point that out. I could have also changed the color to one that would completely melt into the fabric. I'll check again my length, and it's perfect. So now I can put in the other KamSnap. I push my owl through all the layers, then I remove the owl. I place the KamSnap on top of the facing and push the prong through to the top. I check that's in the right position. Well, obviously it is, because we've done it right this time. We place the socket with a thick rim on top of the prong. Then we place the snaps between the top and bottom dies of the pliers. We press down and we release, and the snap is inserted. Then I go over to the other side and repeat the process. I can also check that my markings are in the right position to the other KamSnap. It's always good to check, but they are in the right position. So here comes my owl, and I pop that through all the way. And then I take my KamSnap and I put on the socket, put it between the dies of the pliers, press down and release, and voila, it's already in. It really is so easy with KamSnaps. I've used so many snaps for so many different things. I always come back to them. They are absolutely brilliant. And you can get them in all sorts of colors and, you know, patterns on them. You can cover them. I mean, there's so much you can do. In my instructions in the ebook on page 7, you will find a link to kamsnap.com. You can get them there directly. And I've also got stuff on my Amazon shop. So I've got one of these influencer shops. I'd very much like it if you got your hardware from there, not only because the hardware will actually fit this one if you purchase that, but they are the ones that I've also used. That goes for the dungaree buckles and the rectangular slider, which we do in the next chapter actually, but also for buttons. And for anybody that's watching this from Germany, of course, there's a German video as well. You might want to find that in the description. And for you and other Europeans, it will go to Snaply. So now I've got all my KamSnaps inserted. I just have to do them up and we're basically done. This is excellent. And I do like that you don't see the KamSnaps on the outside. This is really nice, gives you so much room, and you can quickly change your baby and change the nappy. So that's absolutely brilliant. And that's it. We've finished the snap-placket closure and the hems. You're actually almost done. We only have one more thing to do, and that is to put the hardware in here, our sliders and our buckles. See you there. If you want to find out more about the Bobby Dazzler Dungarees, and this is the only video from the course you've seen, you can watch everything else just by going in the video description, click on the playlist, and you can watch everything from the start. And there's also a link to my website where you can purchase the pattern. and a link to my Etsy shop if you prefer to make your purchase on there. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.